Hello children, when you open your MIT app inventor, you're going to go into projects and say new project, or you're going to click on new project here and you're going to give a name to your project. I'm going to say quiz. I already have the name quiz used, so I'm going to say quiz 1, and then I'm going to keep it at default and I'm going to say okay. So now once I do this, I'm going to click on, I'm going to get the user interface here. Which is a simulator in the center, and we have tools towards the right hand side. I'm going to close the user interface. Now you can see that we have the different options here, like the user interface, layout, media, drawing and animation, and others. We're going to explore a few in this video. So towards the right hand side we have the components and the properties for those components. So remember, we are on the designer mode and we would be creating the design. So now to begin with, we're going to be designing the user interface for the quiz. So now here I'm going to go down into layout and I'm going to create layouts. I'm going to say vertical layout, and then when I add the vertical layout here on screen 1, remember we are on screen 1 here, we can add screens when needed. We're going to learn it in the coming part of the video. So now here I'm going to, when I have added the vertical arrangement, I'm going to go into vertical arrangement and then I'm going to click on height and I'm going to say parent fill, and then we have the height option here. I'm going to say 30 and I'm going to say okay, and then the width I'm going to choose it as 100 and I'm going to say okay. I'm going to add one other vertical alignment here, and then I'm going to pick up the parent fill and I'm going to say the width as 100 and the height as 30, and I'm going to click on okay. So you see that both the vertical alignments have been aligned. So now to begin with, let's design. I need a button here, so I'm going to close this layout and I'm going to go into user interface. So when I go into user interface, I get a lot of options here with which I can create the user interface, like the button, checkbox, date picker, and others. We're going to explore some of them now. So I'm going to go into buttons and I'm going to drag the button here into the vertical alignment 2. You see that as soon as I add the button, the option here under the components comes in, so that you can make changes to it. And onto the vertical alignment 1, I'm going to drop in a label. So now here under the vertical alignment 1, I'm going to click on the vertical alignment component here, and then I'm going to say align horizontal to center and align vertical to center. So when I do this, you see that the text over here of the label comes down to the center, and then I'm going to come down to label. So when I come down to label here, I can change what's written on the label. I can change the text size and everything. So I'm going to go down to the properties and make the changes. I'm going to say 20 here for the font size, so it's big enough. I'm going to scroll down here. I can change the width and the height, however I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to say center, and on the text I'm going to say click. I'm going to keep the caps lock on. So I'm going to right click the buttons to start, so it comes on over here. I'm going to go down to the button. I'm going to click on the button. You see that I'm inside the vertical alignment 2 under the button. So let's place the button. So to begin with, we can change the color, we can change the font size. I'm going to change the font size to 20, and then I can change the width and height of the button. So let's change the width of the button to say 20. I think 20 would be just too much. I'm going to say 10. Let's see if this is enough. And then I'm going to change the width to say 30. And I'm going to click OK. And then we're going to align it to the center. We have the vertical alignment aligned here. Okay, we're going to go into vertical alignment too and align it to center so that it comes in the center. So I'm going to go down to the button now. I see that the width is sufficient but the height isn't. I mean, the height is sufficient but the width isn't, so maybe I can change this to 40 and then click on OK, and then change this to like 60 and then click on OK. So there you go, our button is ready. We can change the color of the button, so I can go in over here, add the color blue and change the text color to say white so that it is visible. So this is our first screen. So we're going to add a screen here. We're going to say screen 2 and I'm going to click on OK. So we need to create the second scene, so we are on screen 2 now. Screen 2, we are on screen 2. Let's start designing the screen 1. I mean the screen 2. So to begin with, I'm going to close the user interface here, open the layout. I'm going to add 4 vertical alignments. And I'm going to start rearranging this height and the width. I'm going to arrange the height to 20 and I'm going to click on OK, and then the width is going to be 100%. So I'm going to come down to the vertical alignment too. I'm going to take the height as 20 and then the width as 100 and click on OK. Let's go to the third one, height as 20 and width as 100 and I'm going to click on OK. Let's go to the fourth one. I'm going to use the fill and I'm going to say the height as 20 and then let's change the width to 100. Now we have set up the layout, so we need to add our elements into it. We may need one more vertical alignment, so let's just add the tiny one, and the fifth one I'm going to keep the height at automatic and we're going to change the width to say 100. And maybe here we're going to change it as needed. So for now we're going to keep it at this. So to begin with, on the top we're going to ask them. So I'm going to click on screen 1 and I'm going to write about the screen. I'm going to change the screen title to answer the question. So you see that we have got it. Let's go down to screen 1 and let's change the screen name here. So I'm going to go to screen and then I'm going to say title as quiz. Okay, so we'll go down to screen 2 now and we're going to start creating the user interface. So now to begin with, let's add the question here. where was, okay, let's have a simple question, as in we're going to ask them. Okay, I'm going to close the layout option here. Before we do that, we're going to go down to layout, and we're going to make the alignment here to center and center again. Let's go to the second vertical alignment, turn this to center and center, because that is how we wanted. Third vertical alignment, and go down and say that we want it in the center. The fourth, we're going to do the same thing, and also the fifth. Okay, so now once we do this, we're going to go down into user interface, and then I'm going to add the first question. I'm going to use the label here, and I'm going to ask the question here. I'm going to add the text for the label. For that, I'm going to go down into properties, scroll down here, and add the question on the label. I'm going to say, what's the color of the text? Is the color of the text. So when we say this, the label color text changes. So here W, and then we can go down and change a font size. Let's change the font size to 20, and then it's just too much, so we can make it like say 18. It's a little lesser. So I'm going to change the text color to say orange, and then I'm going to add the background color as blue, or maybe something else. Not green, gray. Yeah. So now here, to begin with, we're going to use a drop down menu here. Here it's called as the spinner. When I add the spinner here, it comes down to center because the vertical alignment has been made to appear there. When I click on the spinner, I get many options here wherein I can change the width of the spinner. Let's change the width of the spinner to say 80%, and I'm going to click OK. So here we have the spinner. So now we're going to set the options for the spinner inside the code. Before that, let's set up the answer. So once you choose the answer here, you're going to get the result. So let's add the result over here. For that, I'm going to use a label, and I'm going to place the label here, and then I'm going to change the height and width of the label. So I'm going to say parent fill, and I'm going to set the height to 30, and I'm going to click on OK. And I think 30 is just too much. Let's say 20, and click on OK, because the vertical alignment itself is 20. So, or maybe we can just say 18, and click on OK. So now once done, we're going to set the width I'm going to say 100, and I'm going to be clicking on OK. And then we're going to come down here to the alignment, and we're going to say center. So once place in center, we're going to go down to vertical alignment. Yeah, set to center. We're going to increase the font size here. I'm going to click on the font size as 20. And then we're going to change the label text to answer. So now this one, let's try to bring it a little down. Okay, let's add the last one. We're going to add a button here on the fourth alignment, and then we're going to call the button as next. So now let's change the color of the button to say blue, and the text color to say white. So now the user is going to read the question, answer, the correct or the wrong answer will appear over here, and then the last would be he would be going to the next question. So now here we're going to go down to screen number 1, and we're going to start coding. For that we're going to go into blocks. So we're going to stop the video here because we have learned to design. So in the next video we're going to be adding as to how to add the codes for this. So that's it for this video. Keep learning, keep exploring.